Hi, Bethel Grove families. Santosh here. Over the past little while, Amy Bach, Rachel Thompson, and I have been reading and studying this book together. It's called Think Orange, Imagine the Impact When Church and Family Collide. And this book really talks about how the church and the family church and parents can collaborate and work together and support one another in the spiritual formation of children. And it was a very helpful book, and it kind of gave us a good framework for family ministries and for children ministries. And so we've kind of put together this little video to share with you various aspects that we learned from this book. What I want to share with you is the role of parents in the spiritual formation of children. And I want to start by reading from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9, and to set the context, this is a series of speeches that Moses is giving to the people of Israel after they've been liberated from Egypt, and they're on their way to the promised land. They're getting these rules and these commandments. And one of them is this. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. So the first part of that, verses 4 to 5, where it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, that is called the Jewish Shema. And later on in that passage, it says, tie them to your doorposts. And in some Jewish homes, that is written in Hebrew, and it's actually attached somewhere near the door. The house that we live in, one of the owners at one time was actually a rabbi. And you can actually see there was a place where there was a little inscription of the Shema there. So that text is actually a charge to parents. It's telling parents, first of all, I want these commandments in your heart. It starts off with that, saying, keep them in your heart. But then it says, don't keep them there. They have to come out. And one of the ways they need to come out is through teaching your children. And it's pretty interesting how exhaustive it is. Again, it says, talk about the laws when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. So it looks like there's not any place of human activity where we are not imparting information to our children. And so along with that, I just wanted to share some things that I learned out of this book. One of them is that we are all going to leave a legacy for our children. The way we lived our lives is actually going to have a deep impact and influence on our children and their children and for generations to come. And what we give or what we do, what we give, we can give them material things, we can do things for them, we can take them on trips, we can take them for meals, we can take them to sporting events. We can give and we can do a lot of things, but the most important things that we can do as parents is things that we're going to put inside of them in terms of what their thinking is going to be and what their hearts are going to be. That is one of the most important things as a parent. And I think one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what is our goal as parents? What is our goal in terms of our children? What are we hoping? Are we hoping that they will grow up to be good, moral people, that they will be productive members of society? Are we hoping that they'll grow up to be Christians, to be followers of Jesus Christ? I think that our primary goal as parents is this. It is to get our children to feel loved by God. Get our children into that space where they realize that the God of the universe loves them specifically and wants to walk with them through life, encouraging them and helping them. to reach their potential and to reach the destiny that he has for them. So I think that's our goal, is how do we get our children to a place where they feel loved by him? I want to share 5 things that I think are important in faith formation of our children from home. The first is personal spirituality. And this is really directed to you, to mom and dad. Your children need to realize that you are in a relationship with God, that you have a vibrant and dynamic relationship with God, that you speak to God through prayer, that you listen to God through prayer and to scripture, that you obey God morally in the way you live your life, and that God is a priority in terms of attendance at church and Bible study and things like that. So personal spirituality. Secondly, is the idea of being a teammate. This is the idea that your child knows that you are on their side. You are on their team. You are there for them. You are encouraging them. You are motivating them. You are pushing them. They know that if they have a problem, that they can come to mom or dad. Personal spirituality, teammate. Third, loving parents. Now, what I mean by this is, I should have said more like loving spouses. Your relationship with one another as husband and wife is going to be extremely impactful and formational on the development of your child. The way the husband treats the wife, the way the wife treats the husband, incredible lessons are being taught to the child just in observing whether you are kind to one another, whether you are loving to one another, or whether you are harsh to one another and unkind to one another. So loving spouses. So personal spirituality, teammate, loving spouses. Fourthly, active engagement. And what I mean by this is that there are significant times throughout the week where you are interacting at a personal level with your child. Interaction is more than just spending time with your child. It's more than just driving your child to an event or even just eating a meal with your child. It's sharing what's on your heart and what's on their heart. I'll give you an example of this from an incident that just happened this week in our home. I was quite tired at the end of the day and was a little bit grumpy, and I got into a bit of an argument with one of my children. And I sort of snapped at them, and they were very hurt by that. And so the next day, they wanted to talk to me about it. And so we sat down, and they told me how they felt, and they asked me why I did that. And so I explained that I was tired that day, I was grumpy, but that I was wrong. And I asked them if they would forgive me. And they did. They forgave me. I apologized, and they forgave me. But then what I did next was I asked them if they would pray for me. I asked them that God would help me to not lose my cool, to manage my emotions better, and to be a good father. And it was a very powerful time between myself and my child when that happened. So it was an example of active engagement. Personal spirituality, teammate, loving spouses, active engagement, finally kingdom support. And this is where Amy and Rachel will talk a little bit more. This is where your children have access to resources outside of the home, because your children are going to need more than just you as adult influences in their lives. They're going to need others that they can engage with and interact with and trust. And the best way to get that is in the church, is being engaged and involved in the local church. So personal spirituality, make sure your kids know that you are in a dynamic relationship with God. Teammate, you're on your child's side. Loving spouses, it's tangible, the relationship, the love relationship you have with your spouse. Active engagement, you are engaged, involved in conversation and dialogue, in interacting with your child's heart. And then kingdom support, there's that connection with the local church. I believe that the family, that God has created the family for a multitude of reasons, but one of them is it becomes an outpost of the kingdom of God. It becomes a sign of what the kingdom of God is to look like. It's like God has got this one thing, and he's got this mother, this father, and children all in there. And as they treat each other and as they love each other, they build this community that's a little microcosm of the greater kingdom that God is building. Just think about the love between 3 or 4 or 5 members of one family. If each member of that family is loving the other, just what a powerful dynamic that is. That's just building this huge reservoir of love that we all need to get through life. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope you found that helpful. And I believe now that Amy and Rachel are going to share some things that they've been learning as well. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Today I will share what the church's role is in partnering with families. This information was compiled from the book Think Orange by Reggie Joiner. Chapter 2, entitled Bright Lights. Reggie states that the mission and purpose of the church is twofold: to display God's glory and draw men into Christ. First, the church displays God's glory by shining the light of Jesus and showing who he is. Reggie shares how the church can be a welcoming light as he quotes Anne Lamott. She writes in her book Traveling Mercies, Some Thoughts on Faith. The reason, parenthesis, I make my son go to church, parenthesis, is that I want to give him what I found in the world, which is to say a path and a little light to see by. Most of the people I know who have what I want, which is to say purpose, heart, balance, gratitude, and joy, are people with a deep sense of spirituality. They follow a brighter light than the glimmer of their own candle. They're part of something beautiful. Secondly, the church draws men to Christ by bringing the transformative news of God's rescuing justice to the whole creation as Jesus did. He shares how Craig Van Gelder writes in his book, The Essence of the Church, a Community Created by the Spirit, that, quote, the church is missionary by nature because God through the Spirit calls, creates, and commissions the church to communicate to the world that the redemptive reign of God has broken into human history, unquote. Reggie goes on to explain the significance of the lampstand in the Bible and how it can guide us in the church's mission. In John's vision, recorded in Revelation 1:20, an angel's voice describes that the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. The significance of the lampstand is described more fully in Exodus chapters 25 and 37. The lampstand was the only source of light within the tabernacle walls. It was so important that one of the priest's primary jobs was to make sure that the light of the lampstand never burned out. The lampstand of the tabernacle stood to highlight the object that best represented God's goodness and provision, the showbread, or bread of presence, the same object that Jesus would one day use to symbolize his own body. The lampstand did not cast a broad light. The focus of its beam was specifically on the bread of the presence. The church is not called to illuminate everything. Its light should be concentrated on showing others who God is. Additionally, light communicates comfort, warmth, and healing. It gives direction and hope so we can see better and understand more fully. He goes on to say that some churches may have more influence than others because they're more intentional about putting Jesus in the spotlight. Other churches have lost influence with their communities because they no longer focus on what attracts the hearts of people. In Revelation, God was concerned about the church losing its influence and impact. The people had forsaken their first love. Reggie states that the church tends to drift from what it was originally designed to do. When the lampstand is moved, our influence is weakened. When the lampstand is moved, we marginalize the light and make it harder for people to see what God is really like. Some things that cause us to drift from our identity include fighting personal battles, becoming distracted by irrelevant issues, using the lampstand to make political statements, or trying to make our church look better. God is more interested in the heart of the church than he is with his size or intellect. We need to refocus the mission of the church. Our mission is not to preserve the local church as it presently exists, but our mission is to be the church. Some churches insist on forms of circumcision. They make lists of requirements that make it difficult to turn to God. The only thing that matters is someone's relationship with God. When the lampstand is in the right place, doing what it's intended to do, there are spiritual, personal, and social implications. Some spiritual implications include showing children the wonder, mystery, and power of a God who is too big for them to define, who has proven through time and space that he loves them intimately. Personal implications include helping the next generation in their struggle for identity and significance, and giving them a first-hand glimpse of the Creator. And lastly, social implications include seeing God and ourselves in the light of his sacrifice for us and seeing others the way God intends. When the lampstand shines the way God intended, the next generation will understand its mission more clearly, to display God's glory and draw men to Christ.
Hey Kingdom Kids families, thanks so much for watching this video. We're really excited about our partnership with you and excited about this information that we've been able to pray over and talk over and plan over during this time. So far you've heard from Santosh about the why of family ministry, you've heard from Amy about the what, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the how. So all of this that we're talking about, all these strategies, what is that going to look like for you and your family? And what's it going to look like for you at home as well? Simply put, our core values are to equip, engage, and support you and your children. That's right, we're partners here. So how are we going to do all of this? We are going to do it as a combined family ministry. So what does that mean? Family ministry is an effort to synchronize church leaders and parents around a master plan to build faith and character in our sons and our daughters. And I speak to you both as a church minister and as a parent at our church. And for both of those reasons, I'm really excited about all of this information. So if you look at the infographic, it combines family ministry and with preschool, with children's ministry, and with student ministry. The family ministry team is integrated to support parents raising their children during each developmental stage, from babies until high school graduation. We believe that this strategy is the most powerful because it starts with creating wonder in preschool, discovery in children's ministry, and passion in student ministry. We believe that people turn away from church because other communities offer them a better story. We want to engage, equip, and support kids in each stage they are in. So that's going to look different in each classroom because each classroom represents a different age group with different needs. Many of you may have studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Some of our kids are going to be in different stages. There is a big area of growth from babies to high school, the most growth you'll see in your age or in your life. So first of all, we're gonna make sure that our babies are getting all of their base needs met, their physiological needs, food, water, warmth, rest, their safety needs, security, their belongingness and love needs, intimate relationships and friends, esteem needs, prestige, feelings of accomplishment, and then self-actualization. And some of those stages might be different depending on kids and their maturity levels, but you could probably see how we're going to lay those foundations of what the kids need as babies, and they are going to grow in love and wonder and discovery and in passion in our family ministry at Bethel Grove Bible Church. So what we are going to do well in our classrooms is we are going to refine the message. We're going to craft core truths into engaging, relevant, and memorable experiences. How are we going to do that? We're going to use our facilities, our budget, our people, our passion, technology, and creativity. If you're going to make a presentation for your job or for school, you're going to do the best you possibly can. You're going to use every medium that you can. You're going to use every ounce of passion and creativity that you can. Well, we are passionate about your kids. And so we are going to do everything that we can and use everything that we can, because it makes sense to do whatever you can to impress a generation with what is true. What better use could there be for our creativity, for our passion, for our technology, and for our facilities than impressing the next generation with God's love? So how are we going to do that? We're going to say less. We're going to say what matters. We're going to say it clearer. We're going to say it louder. And if we don't need to say it, we're not going to say it at all. We're going to create an experience so the message can be processed at each age level and each different stage of life. So here is our promise to you. We will act like every parent is our partner. We will listen to you. We want to be the bright light to your warm heart. We want to think orange. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for partnering with us. Thank you for your trust. And we promise we will do our best to be the bright lights to your warm hearts. God bless.